welcome to ThinkTech. We are raising public awareness in technology, energy, diversity, and globalism every day. This show is Center Stage. I am your host, Donna Blanchard, proud managing director of Kumukuhui Theater. We are coming to you live from Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu, very close to Kumukuhui Theater. I would like to let you know that we stream live every weekday on ustream.tv and Springer.com. And if you would like to check out any of our shows, go to thinktechhawaii.com. That's where you can find everything about us. That's also where you can sign up for a mailing list, so you will get daily notices of all of our shows coming up that day. My guest today, we are continuing with our comedic theme for July. My guest today is Jeremy Castillo. He is a local comedian. He's performed stand-up in Honolulu since June of 2012. His comedy revolves around topics such as relationships, current events, and everyday observations. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, Donna. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being here. I have not seen your work.
Oh, you're lucky.
You
no.
know this about me.
Yes.
Okay, so a mutual friend introduced us. Thank you very much, Richard Melendez. And this better go well, or it's totally on you.
Yeah, Abstract Magazine editor.
But I'm really interested to talk with you about where you are in your career, how you got there, your background, and what the process is that you go through when you are creating your work.
Okay.
So, what are you working on right now?
Right now, I actually have a little project going. A couple months ago, during March Madness, a comic buddy of mine, Chad Wago, decided he was going to write 64 jokes in 64 days, because that's how many teams are in the March Madness bracket. A couple months later, the World Cup is about to start. I was like, I'm going to take Chad's idea, make it my own, but he knows that. I was like, okay, I'm going to take this idea, make it about the World Cup. I'm going to do 32 jokes in 32 days, see where that goes. Because if for nothing else, the more you write, the better you get. So that's where I am right now. I have a show tonight at Anna O'Brien's through Comedy U, hosted by Jose Dynamite, who you might know from opening for Augie for a few years. And right now I'm just trying to get a better act.
Okay.
Okay.
So how's your joke a day going? What day are you on?
It is number 28. Yeah. Number 28. And 3 days away, so I got 4 more jokes to write. I haven't done one every single day. I'm trying to average 32 and 32. Because I'm like, because the World Cup doesn't have games every day, so I'm not gonna hold myself to the same standard.
Okay,
but, yeah,
that works.
If that makes sense, yeah.
All right. And when you say a joke, it could be a story leading up to a long story that leads up to a punchline?
Oh no, it was just I started off with one-liners, and I've always really enjoyed the joke format of talk show hosts. Conan O'Brien was a big influence on me growing up. I watched Jay Leno, I watched David Letterman, and I really liked the jokes. Like, oh, well, this man in this city did this thing, and then there's a twist. Always loved that kind of material. So I'm going to do those.
Oh, okay.
Because every comic has a job they want in the comedy business eventually. I'd love to be a TV writer. That'd be fantastic. There's a lot of comics in writing rooms currently. So why not me be one of them?
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know why not. So you're on day 28. Can you share one of the? Do you have a favorite joke that you've written during that time?
A favorite.
How rude of me to ask you that.
They're all like my children.
Okay, you've got all of them.
Because I don't have children, so I compare my jokes to children, because that's me. I would say, wow. The one that was really popular was I want to create a Bible-based exercise program called Pontius Pilates.
Okay.
Which, if like I went to Christian school and Pontius Pilate is felt like Pilates. Explaining a joke, by the way, helps it be 10 times funnier for everyone out there. Always do that, especially on stage. But maybe I'll think of a couple before or by the next.
I laughed. I laughed. That was real.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And I totally put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That is one of the least uncomfortable things a woman has put me through. So that's fine. Yeah.
Do women get a lot of play in your act? You know, stories about women, I mean.
Not more than anyone else. I'd say they're not a target of mine. They're like, I gotta get them. That isn't me.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What would you say? Well, in general, you said that relationships, current events, and everyday observations.
Yes, relationships. Yes, my own relationships. I've past girlfriends, but I also like just relationships in general. I'm 28 years old. A lot of my friends and myself and a lot of people my age and a little bit younger, relationships are kind of big. Like they're big. And people my age, we haven't figured them out yet. We have breakups, we get married, we get divorced, there's children involved. So that is something that I've just been around since I've been an adult. And relationships are not just romantic relationships. There's all types of relationships, like boss and employee, husband, wife, of course, father, child, two coworkers. So it's more about stuff like that, kind of the social contract and the way we interact with each other. Okay. And that kind of things. I really like current events, not politics too much. Not too much, for a couple of reasons, but current events, things in the news, because I like to stay up on current events as well, and just everyday things, because any comic that doesn't have an ego on them will tell you the things you see in life and the things you just notice or things people will do around you will be funnier than anything you can come up with. I can spend 2 hours in my room trying to write something funny, won't work. I'll spend 20 minutes in Walmart and I'll have a page. Just because people need to be around people, especially creative types,
well,
I think.
Especially Walmart. Walmart has got to be gold for you.
Yes, like sad gold.
New Walmart just opened downtown.
Yeah.
All kinds of, you see all the comedians going in there, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, because Walmart is great. Yeah, I'm going to say that so the Waltons don't sue us.
Oh, well, yeah. We just announced that their store is open, so they have to be happy with us. So where else do you work right now? What other clubs are you in on a regular basis?
I do there's a regular open mic at Station Bar and Lounge every Thursday night. That's hosted by Aaron Hughes and Erica Schwarzkopf alternatively. There is a weekly Wednesday open mic at Studio at Hawaiian Brian's on Kapiolani Boulevard, and there's an open mic at the Comedy U Show at Anna O'Brien's on Baratania. So those are 3 open mics a week. Totally possible to do all 3 within a week if you want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at those open mics, do you see a lot of the same people who are working the circuit?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's a good scene. I like Honolulu scene because even though it's very, very small and very closely knit, everybody meets everybody within about a month and a half. Yeah. So we see a lot of the same people, and there's always encouragement. We're not really competitive with each other because there's almost no point. But it's good because you see someone every week and you just see the growth. And I know it's happened with me, but I've been doing comedy for a little over 2 years. I remember seeing people who came in about 6 months and a year after me being like, oh, this guy's nervous, this guy, you know, he needs to get his polish, and then a few months later, they're excellent. They're much better on stage. And that's what I like. That's what's great about having a really small scene where everyone really knows each other, whereas you go into a big city like New York or LA, everyone's trying to make it for themselves. There is a little community, but not really tight-knit. It's like cliques, from what I've heard.
Oh, yeah. So you see the same people, but you see a lot of, that's where new people start. I mean, if
Yes,
you wanna.
yes. Open mics are great because anybody can walk in and try to do comedy as long as they're of age to enter the bar. If it's an all-age place, it's like in a coffee shop, anybody. And sometimes you see guys who are going to be really great, and you can see, like, oh, this guy's going to be a comic, he needs to get polished. There are some people who they don't know what they're doing, which is understandable for a first time. And then there are people who are just like, I'm going to talk into a microphone and just let crazy things fall out of my face for 5 minutes, which is great. You should come to open mics just for that. It's awesome. But comedy here is very supportive. We're all really friendly to each other. We all want the best, because when another comic succeeds in getting a bunch of people out to a show, we all start looking better.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cool. You just did a really nice PSA for the open mic comedy scene in Honolulu. I have my bachelor's degree in acting. I studied it in school, and we had one semester during which we had to study and then perform a stand-up bit. And I like to think that I'm a fairly accomplished actress. I sucked so badly. It was really hard to do for me. It's not my venue. It's not my genre at all. Kudos to anyone who stands up in front of a microphone, and it's sometimes the things that you think are funny at home, they're funny to you. They're funny in my own little brain. I get in front of people and man, it was bad.
Yeah, yeah, that was the last open mic I went to. That was, but stand up. Well, sorry, what was it? Stand up is.
I didn't ask a question. Just keep talking. Just keep talking.
Yeah, stand up is definitely. It's definitely nerve-wracking. It can be, because I have a little theater experience, and I've done a little bit of improv. I've done performance here and there. I don't know how to play an instrument, so other than that, I've tried pretty much everything. And comedy is hard because it's all you. It's your jokes. It's all you. You don't have gimmicks unless you sing or you. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah. But there are comics who will play guitar on stage or use puppets or props or what have you. And I'm not saying that's any less legitimate as a comic. But when it's just you, the mic stand, and the audience, it's so personal. And that's why a lot of people will say, I can't do stand-up, it's hard, I can't imagine myself ever doing that. And so I take that as a compliment, but at the same time, there are things I can never imagine doing. Like, you're a theater person, you said. I've been in theater in high school. I was in one play with a small role, but I watched everyone else do it. The leads, I'm like, I can't memorize 75 pages of dialogue and 5 songs and the blocking and the dancing. Like, that's something I don't ever see myself doing as well. So it's all hard work. All entertainment is, work. It's just the type of work you like.
Yeah.
But it's all art, and it's all respectable, and it's all awesome. I really genuinely love all art.
Anyone who, that's cool. Anyone who thinks that any of it is easy really should, I hope they're watching, take a moment to think about it from your perspective. You really are standing naked in front of your audience. And I've seen a lot of comedians go the other way. do make it exceptionally personal. And then there's almost a wince factor, you know, there can be, but when they go all the way for it and they're really good at it, it's amazing how we all relate to it when you do allow it to be that personal.
Yes, that is true, because if I had to break down comedy into a sentence, or what a comedian does in a sentence, it's you point out the odd in the normal and the normal in the odd. It's your job. If it's to say, like a lot of political comics, they'll say stuff that, I never thought about the president like that, or I never thought of Congress in that way, because they have this really great analogy that pertains to something else. So you're like, so that's how these two things connect. So that's finding the odd in the normal, and then the normal in the odd would be something like relationships, where it's weird and it's a personal subject, but yet somehow we all relate because it's universal. Which is why a lot of people will say, like jokes about sex, or jokes about like potty humor jokes, they're crass and they're easy and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, we all relate to that because they're universal experiences, whether people want to admit that or not.
Right.
But that is comedy. It's finding what people aren't seeing and highlighting it. And if you have to do so by telling a really embarrassing story or admitting something about yourself you don't want to admit, then that's just all the better. But then I think that's what helps make comedy really palatable to a lot of people, because they can make these ideas that they may not truly fully understand, or they may not have ever had before. But if you can make a joke out of it, people will just accept it. Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. So that's what I was trying to say.
Awesome. Okay, good. This is a good point to stop. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We're going to come right back and talk more with Jeremy Castillo. That wasn't funny. I'm Donna Blanchard, host of Center Stage. You are watching ThinkTech Hawaii. We'll be right back.
I'm Jay Fidel. That's Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And every Wednesday we have Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. We've been doing it for some time now, and we have some fantastic guests on there, unbelievable guests who give us insight into what is going on in a very complex, sometimes very confusing, sometimes very disappointing area of progress in the state. So we love doing this. We love meeting them. We love talking to them. We love having their ideas out on the table. So maybe, just maybe, we can all make some sense of what's going on. Sharon, what do you think?
I think it's absolutely correct. We enjoy ourselves meeting with all these people and hearing about the energy and the state of clean energy, and hopefully we advance clean energy for the state. So it's terrific. Join us.
Okay, it's every Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is Energy Day. Every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, here on ThinkTech Hawaii. We'll see you there.
Hi, we're back and we're live. This is Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii digital series. I'm Donna Blanchard, talking with local comedian Jeremy Castillo. So let's go back. You are, when you were a child, when do you first remember noticing the world of comedy?
I was always aware of it. My parents are night owls, and so am I. So I would say I was probably one of the few 8, 9-year-old kids in my elementary school who knew who Jay Leno and David Letterman were, or were familiar with their shows anyway. So I always knew comedy was a thing that people did. Like funny people wrote TV shows, funny people wrote jokes for talk shows. But the first stand-up comic and special that I ever saw that really hit me on a personal level was Bring the Pain by Chris Rock. And that special has a ton of jokes that are awesome. And the thing is, people might be asking, like, what would like a 13-year-old white kid in Hawaii, like, how would he connect with Chris Rock? And, you know, when I was maybe 12, 13 years old and I saw that special, I might not have understood everything he was talking about, but I knew he was wowing an audience with like, the way he got an audience to react to his very honest material and how he was unapologetic about it. I'm like, oh, this is what comedy can do. It can bring people together. It can make people feel things. It can reveal uncomfortable truths. And that's when I'm like, oh, that's kind of the beauty in this art form. And from then, I never stopped watching.
Really? You were connecting with it at that level?
Oh,
this
yeah.
This is an evolution for you?
It was I would say, that was the moment it went from, comedy went from a thing I enjoyed watching on TV to, oh, I understand what this can do.
Really?
And I've watched a lot of other types of entertainment. I never connected with any of them like comedy. I watched, you know, a lot of sitcoms growing up. I watched cartoons. I watched professional wrestling as a kid. And those are all great forms of entertainment to me. Those are great things to watch. Comedy, I was like, I want to do that. I want to stand in front of an audience, make them laugh, make them feel, and make them think. And that's it. And also, as an only child, I really like the idea of forcing people to listen to me for an hour. So that might be a little bit. That's like 10%. But that, hey, but
10%.
all the other stuff, 100% true.
But you're okay with having all the attention in the world?
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
gotcha.
I would just talk into this camera for an hour if you weren't here. Just blather on, lose donations.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Well, that's good. That's what you must have in your profession.
Yes.
So then you were very drawn to it, and you said, "Mom and Dad, I want to be." Wait, did you want to be Jay Leno or David Letterman? Who's your favorite?
Who do I favor? Back then, Leno. Before the whole Conan thing. That's still true.
You're not kidding.
No, I was like, I am if he's watching. If he's not, no. No, but comedy was sidetracked for me. But also, I want to do that. But I also knew later on, like in high school, I'm like, you can't do show business as a career. Like you mean you can. But I'm like, that's not for me. So I got on my school paper in high school. Got my journalism degree, I was like, I gotta be employable. But the whole time I was in college, it kept calling. I was like, you try going on stage. Because I never stopped watching comedy, and it always made me feel better. It always connected with me. And no matter how much I liked working in the journalism field, and I loved my college, but there was always that part of me in the back of the head, like, you should try doing stand-up. Why don't you try it? And I would always be working on funny things to say on stage in my head, even though I never went on stage that early. So it was always something in the back of my head. It was in there that I wanted to be a comic.
Okay, and then so you're in college studying journalism. Were you at UH? Were you here?
No, I went to Windward Community College for my first 2 years after Castle, and then I transferred to the University of Idaho. Oh. Yeah, and yeah.
Why?
I ask myself that sometimes. No, I wanted.
The leap from Hawaii to Idaho is kind of large.
That is exactly what I wanted, though. I was like, college is a very rare experience where you're allowed to really grow up fast. and you're exposed to a lot of new things. You can learn about so many things, and I have no problem with UH Manoa. I really don't. I think it's a great school. However, I didn't want to go from community college to UH and see everyone that I had gone to high school with. I wanted something completely different, and I was really passionate about being a journalist at the time. And I was thinking to myself, if I'm gonna have an original voice and have something to say later on in life, I have to challenge myself. I need to go somewhere where it's very different from what I knew. Politically, it's different. People are different. Weather, it's different. I wanted something completely different because I knew it would make me grow up. I was like, I'm all right. And as soon as I saw my school's pricing and the program it had, I'm like, this is the place. This place is for me.
Can I stop you for just a
Sure.
minute? You said you were passionate about journalism.
Mm-hmm.
What was the root of the passion there? What drove you to journalism?
I liked writing. I've always liked writing. I always liked it. Fiction, nonfiction. I like telling stories. So, and that is also why stand-up appeals to me too. It's another form of storytelling.
Yeah.
That's different from journalism, because journalism, you need fact-checking. I can make up whatever I want in stand-up. So less credibility, basically. No, but journalism was something that I always felt was a very honorable, very noble career. I know a lot of people who are still in newsrooms today. They're great reporters. They really like it, and more power to them. Yeah, and I still love it. I still write for a magazine. I write for the Cherry Pop Review. It's a arts magazine here, an arts magazine here in Honolulu. We feature artists. So I've interviewed other comics, musicians. We've also featured painters and sculptors and belly dancers and all types of performers, because that's the focus of our magazine. We want to give people who are artists here exposure and acknowledgement for what they do.
Cool. Okay. So sorry I made you take that
No
side
problem.
turn there.
No problem.
So you're in God's country studying journalism, and did you finish that or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I graduated in 2008, which is a fantastic year to go out in the job market, by the way. And I worked for the the Honolulu Advertiser for about 6 months. After that, I actually started writing for them in 2004 when they started running a music column. So I wrote a lot of reviews for music and video games. So that was my first real journalism job. And then I wrote for the school paper at Windward. I wrote for the school paper in Idaho. I stayed with the Advertiser for about 6 more months until they merged. And then years later, I got into the Cherry Pop Review. So there was that little hiatus for me in the news business, but I always wanted to go back in.
Oh, okay. Okay. So tell us about the first time you said, I'm going to do stand-up. How did that happen? It's always been, it's been in the back of your head all this time. You've been writing jokes in the back of your head.
Okay. You said at the top of the show that I started in 2012. That is true. That is very true. That's when I started doing it regularly.
Okay.
I tried once at 2008.
Okay, let's go back to that. I
Yeah,
want to hear that.
it was an open mic at the Honolulu Design Center in the Amuse Wine Bar. There were 2 people that I brought, my 2 friends, some dude who was playing guitar, and this group of women. I don't know if it didn't look like a bachelor party. It looked like an office party with gifts around. I don't know what it was. To this day, I don't know. But it was about a group of 7 or 8 women who were not paying attention to me at all. So I was basically telling jokes to my 2 friends, the dude with the guitar, and the 2 bartenders in the back who had no idea who I was. And So I did maybe 5 minutes of jokes. Can't remember anything I said at all. And the bartender's like, "Oh, dude, you were funny. You were really funny." I'm like, "Oh, do you guys have this a lot here?" He's like, "Oh, no. Like once a month." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And after that, it was just something I was willing to just kind of check off my bucket list. I did a set. I went up, I did jokes, cool. And then 4 years later in 2012, a friend of mine was working at Station Bar and Lounge as a bartender. And I kept seeing her write these posts, like, come out on Thursday night, come out on Thursday nights, we have these open mics. And at the time I worked on Thursday nights. So I could never go out. One day I finally got off on a Thursday night. I'm going. If I don't go tonight, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna kick myself if I don't go. I'm going. Called a friend, like, dude, I want to try stand up. Are you free tonight? Yeah. We meet up at the bar. I do okay. 2 years later, I'm here. And that was when I got hooked, because 2008, the scene here wasn't very developed. By 2012, a couple of brands had been created, a scene had been built, a real network had started. So I walked into a system that was already built. Whereas in 2008, I would have to have started from the ground up and built along with that. So.
Okay. But I cannot let you get away with 2008, you walk into a Muse and do a set for the first time ever. There were a few days that led up to that, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to hear that.
Oh, okay.
So you heard somewhere along the line that there's stand-up at a Muse.
I heard there was an open mic, and I looked for Honolulu open mics, and that was the one I found.
Did you have, when you decided to look for open mics, do you have some jokes ready to go? You knew what you were gonna.
No, I remember saying I was at the beach one day with my friend Casey, and I just mentioned, man, it would be fun to try to be a comic. He's like, well, why don't you? You've been saying that for a couple of years now. Why don't you just try? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna look for open mics. Then when I found it, I'm like, oh, there's an open mic at Amuse in 3 weeks or something. It was well in advance. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to write something. And having no experience whatsoever, I tried writing some stuff, tried it at Amuse. Like I said, with a couple of friends of mine, not knowing what I was doing, but very happy to be there.
Yeah.
Happy I was trying it out, because I was like, this could go terribly. I could get booed off stage, but I tried it.
Yeah.
So when I started in 2008, that was when I did that open mic in 2008. That was my, let me see this. Let's see how this is kind of thing. You know how like some people will take a pottery class once, or they'll try improv a couple times, and then okay, that's good. That's how comedy was for me then. But 4 years later, I tried it again to an actual audience of about a dozen people, got great responses for someone who'd done one open mic only 4 years ago. From then on, I got my good reaction. I'm like, this is it. I'm in, and I never stopped since.
Okay. Cool.
I just haven't stopped.
We're going to take another break, and when we come back, I would like to talk about your actual process of writing the jokes.
All right.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, we'll be right back. This is Center Stage on ThinkTech Hawaii Digital Series. I'm Donna Blanchard talking with Jeremy Castillo. We'll be right back.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Alalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Hi, we are back. This is Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii Digital Series. I'm Donna Blanchard talking with Jeremy Castillo, comedian Jeremy Castillo. So here's what I'm really, really curious about, Jeremy. When you said, okay, there's an open mic night coming up in 3 weeks. I've got 3 weeks to put together a set. The writing process that you went through there, I'd like to explore that.
Okay.
And then vis-a-vis what your writing process is now, if it's changed, and what you go through. So back then, you didn't know what you were doing. You've been thinking about this for a long time. You've been watching a lot. I can tell you absorb a lot of comedy that's out there. Did you go to a lot of shows?
No. Before I did my first open mic, I went to maybe a handful of comedy shows. I saw Augie T once before then. I saw Gabriel Iglesias once, Louis Black once, and I think I saw Eddie Griffin before that. Because I know he came down here a few years ago on a New Year's or something. So it's only a handful of shows. But all the other comedy I've watched was on television.
Okay. Okay. So what did you do? Did you sit down to write? One day you had to have sat there in front of the computer and thought, what?
I'm like, okay, let me try to write. I honestly had no other ideas because I didn't know what I could talk about myself on. I didn't know how to talk about myself on stage and make it funny. So, and this was 2008. This was right before the election. So I think I know I wrote some stuff about Barack Obama, not like about him, but it's like, oh, isn't this crazy? Like, it's something like that. Like the novelty of the situation more than anything about President Obama himself. And a lot of the stuff at the time, a lot of the stuff that was going on in mid to late 2008.
Oh, okay. So you went with the hot topics, current topics.
Yeah, I think I may have mentioned some stuff about the economy, maybe a couple jokes about George Bush, talked about Obama for a little bit. That's kind of it. I honestly couldn't remember anything I wrote at that point, or I can't remember it now. But yeah, just really current event stuff, simple stuff that everyone would have known at least. Because I wasn't going to try to make anything super intricate. So I just read a lot of stuff about, the president and the election, and I'm like, oh, let's see what I can do to make this funny. Let's see if I can write a joke that Conan might say or Letterman might say. Let's do that.
Okay.
So, and I guess I did fairly okay. People told me I was funny. My friend said that bartender loved me. He was like, dude, you're really good. I'm like, thanks. I think he might have just been working me for a tip. I don't know. I gave him money. I'm like, here you go, approval. But anyway.
So, okay. So when it comes to the actual process of working on jokes now, well then and now, do you try stuff out on your friends? Do you say, is this funny when I say this?
When I first started, yeah. I would call my friends constantly. I'd be like, dude, help me out with this joke, or is this funny, or, like, how can I make this better? Do you get this? And then after a few months, you start to realize you gotta depend on yourself. You gotta be able to gauge your own material. So I stopped, and I don't want to say, my friends were very helpful, almost too helpful. I almost use them as a crutch. So I think about maybe 4 or 5 months in, I stopped all of that. I stopped asking my friends to come out to, I would still invite my friends to come out to shows, but I wouldn't be mad if they didn't come. I wouldn't be nervous if they weren't there. I didn't have that need for them to be there. Because other comics are the opposite. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want anyone knowing I do this until I'm good. But to each their own. But back then, my writing process was just, when you're first starting out, it's just write as much funny stuff as you can about anything. It's about relationships or school or your job, your girlfriend or whatever. Whatever you think of that is funny to you, you're gonna write it down and put it in your act, or say it on stage, because you don't know who you are as a comic yet. The first few months, it's really about finding what you're good at and getting less nervous on stage. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was just writing about anything. And by happy coincidence, when I started again in 2012, it was an election year again. So, and I started in June, so and I like politics. I'm not gonna say my preference or anything, but I pay attention. So a lot of my earliest stuff was about the 2012 election. I can't say any of that stuff anymore because, the jokes are gone, but writing that much about something that would eventually go away really helped settle in the note that, oh, you're gonna have to throw away a lot of good stuff because it's too old or it might not relate to you anymore. So now what I try to do, and the best help I ever got in comedy about the actual writing, is make your set about something. Center it in something. If you're gonna write a new 10-minute set, then let's say it's about college. Like, that's your theme of your new set. So you write 10 minutes of jokes that all relate to college in some way, but are different individually. Mm-hmm. Or if you're, let's say, relationships. There's so many things that could go back to romantic relationships, like the awkwardness of dating, the awkwardness of sleeping together for the first time, being together a while. All that stuff comes down to relationships, but also very, very different. It's all connected. So I want to thank Michael C. Hall for that. Not the guy from Dexter, the owner of Comedy Hawaii. Same name, weirdly enough. But, and let me ask another question, or you ask another question.
Okay, thank you. I will.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know where to go with this.
So now you try to have your sets have one through line of some sort.
As much as I can, or what I'll do is I'll try to write 5 minutes of material about one thing.
And then switch.
And then switch. So in a 10-minute set, I might have, this is my 5 minutes about college, this is my 5 minutes about exercise. You combine them, that's a 10-minute set. So eventually, so that's what you want to do when you're first starting out. So you want to write about as many things as you can, but also flesh out. You want to go as deep as you want to do wide in your comedy. It really is. That's important.
Oh, okay. So when you have, a set or two in you right now that has already been performed, and you can whip it out at any of these. Mm-hmm. Is it more or less? And I really am kind of ignorant here. I'm a script person. Is it more or less memorized? Does it go the same way every time, pretty much?
Memorized to a point. I would say. My material, or the stuff that I've said so much, it's like beaten into my own head. There are jokes that I've had for 2 years that I've said so many times I can recite them in my sleep. So there is memorization involved, because you don't want to, because that's just preparation. You don't want to just be, oh yes, so horses are crazy. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be that much of an improver. So you want to know what you're gonna say, but you don't want to get so bogged down in saying everything the same way that you don't get creative. Because as much as the writing is important, there's showmanship involved. You need to work the crowd. If you say this, if you say it one joke in front of a churchy crowd, you're gonna say it in a different way in front of a raunchy crowd. It's writing your material, but also being able to adapt your own behavior and material to the audience you have.
Okay. All right. So they can change a great deal, or would you even change the set? You decide the college stuff is not working.
Yes.
I'm moving on.
Yes. Okay. Because college is actually the perfect example. I'm 28. When I was in college, Facebook started the year I started college. So I was probably one of the first people in America that understood social media and dating in college, seeing that effects. I mean, not the long term, but seeing it unfold as a trend when it first started. So, and I'm not gonna go into a crowd of like 60-year-olds, which I've done before. I've done a few shows in Waikiki in front of tourists. I'm not gonna talk about Facebook in front of a bunch of 50, 60, 70-year-old people.
Yeah, you watch the 50-year-old part there. The 60, 70, 80.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting a little close to home there.
Son. Yeah, all right. It's like, hi, it was fun. She's like, this episode's not going to air. No,
we'll be posting it on Facebook. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
It's all right. This is going to be edited out, right, Ian? No, but anyway, so I'm not going to talk about...
You got to know your audience.
Yeah, I do. So I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, like, oh, isn't it crazy? You got tagged on Facebook. If I start using a bunch of Facebook jargon, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? But if I just say, I focus on, oh, dating when you're young is weird.
Oh,
you're going to relate to that when you're 50, 60, and 70 because you remember being awkward in your 20s and when you're trying to figure out dating. So that's always going to be relatable. But, and like I said earlier, I really stay away from politics as much as I can. Like, vehemently stay away from it.
Oh, yeah.
Because although I'm interested in it personally, nothing divides a crowd quicker than political jokes. And it isn't even because of preference. This is Hawaii, we're a very liberal state. If I walked into a bar here for a show and it's a bunch of people who live here, chances are 90% of them are gonna be fans of Barack Obama. But the second I start talking about politics, even if the audience agrees with me, they're gonna be like, dude, no. Like, we don't really make us laugh. Don't do that. Because I've seen it. I've seen comics just put a wall in front of their act because they just started talking about politics, and people don't want to think about that kind of stuff. Usually, comedy is supposed to be about fun, and it is for me. So, I think. I like politics, but I'm gonna keep it out of my act because they get enough attention.
Yeah, yes, they do, and that's probably why we go.
It's like, oh, this
when we hear another one starting.
Yeah.
So we just have a couple minutes left. What is in your future? Let's say that. Where do you want to go?
In my future,
what's your plans? You want to write for a show? How are you going about that?
I'm definitely watching a lot more sketch comedy than I ever have before. There are a ton of great improv groups here. There's Think Fast, there's Mr. Aaron Presents, there's Improv Hawaii, there's Laugh Track, there's On the Spot. Others I'm probably forgetting, and people are going to get mad at me later on. Why didn't you mention us? But no, I love improv, and I think that is a great thing. I've wanted to try that. That will definitely help me out. And so I'll be reaching out to that community. I'll keep writing more for the Cherry Pop Review. I just started my own Facebook page, so I'm going to start about 2 years late. But I started it, and I'm going to try to market my shows through that. So nothing really concrete. I would like to try comedy in another city. I love Hawaii. It is my childhood home. I love this place, but there's only so much opportunity here, and I would love for there to be more opportunity, but like with how I live or how I moved to Idaho, there's only so much I'm going to be able to grow here as a comic, but without, leaving. So that I might have to do again.
Yeah.
And just for opportunity's sake. But Hawaii's always going to be home. That's never going to change.
Well, there's opportunities to put together sketch comedies that are going on the internet. They can be digital series. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. What else would I consider in my future? What I would really like to do, what I have done a couple times, are charity shows. There are a lot of work, and it's just as hard as putting together a regular comedy show, except you got to give away a lot of the money to the charity, and so there's a lot of coordination involved. And that can be especially hard because a lot of comedy shows here are run in bars. A lot of charities don't want to be associated with alcohol, so they'll say stuff like, "Well, you can fundraise for us. You're just not going to put our name on the poster." I'm like, "Well, then, how is that supposed to work, right?" So that can be hard, and I hope I just didn't get myself in trouble. But that does happen. I've worked with a couple of charities in the past. Mr. Aaron Presents invited me to a fundraiser for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
That's not funny.
Yeah, no, it isn't. It isn't at all. It isn't. But it is good to help people who are less fortunate through your art. Message to everyone out there. And I've also done a charity show where I raise money for. I'm trying to remember. Ina Momoa. Ina Momona. Sorry.
Now that's kind of funny. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that group is. But I like
there's.
the sound of it.
I have a friend in Kaneohe. He lives in Kaneohe. His name is Daniel Anthony. He's very, very involved in the Hawaiian community. He teaches people how to make poi pounder stones and the tables and how to prepare taro the ancient Hawaiian way, not through the mill, but by pounding it by hand. He's also taken charge of, or a lot of the GMO protesting things. Like, that's his thing now. Well, he wasn't doing that when I met him. He started doing that, but when he was just doing the Hawaiian stuff, like the poi pounding classes and like the education, I did a charity show with him because that is an incredibly awesome goal. And
so you got to join forces with something you believe in.
And what I liked about working with Daniel Anthony, and this applies to anybody in any field, he absolutely loves what he does. I know he would do that for free if money didn't exist. That's cool. And if there are people like that, whether it's art or food or teaching or science or whatever it is, follow that dream, because that is eventually gonna make you happy.
Absolutely. We're gonna have to end on that note. That's a good note to end on. That's cool. And maybe you could do a charity event for ThinkTech or Kumakuhua Theater.
Sweet. Yeah, if you'll have me back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much for being here.
Awesome.
We'll shake hands. Very nice. We will, I have to wrap up here. I'm going to read a few things. We would like to thank you for being here as well. Thank you so much for being with us on ThinkTech. Next week we're going to talk with, I hope he's going to be able to be here, Jordan Savusa, another comedian.
Oh, I know Jordan Savusa.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's a small community.
Yeah.
I would like to thank our stage manager, Zuri Bender. Thank you, Zuri. I would like to thank Ian Davidson, our production manager, who is in my ear, and Jay Fidel, who somehow manages to put all of this together. If you would like to check out any of our archive shows, they are on YouTube. You can also find them through our website, thinktechhawaii.com. And if you would like to join us in our studio audience someday, email jay@thinktechhawaii. that's not right. I missed something. j@thinktechhawaii.com. All right, that wraps it up. We will see you next week on Center Stage. Bye.